another week of the NFL, which means another week of predictions. And let's get straight into it. The first game, we have the Cincinnati Bengals going on the road to take on the Carolina Panthers. And both of these teams have looked pretty good this last week. The Bengals losing a tight, close one to the Washington Commanders, and then the Panthers winning with ease against the Las Vegas Raiders. But, Andy Dalton has looked good, but overall, I do think this Bengals defense is way better. And even if the defense doesn't do its work, the offense will do its magic and just keep going and going on that Panthers defense. Give me the Bengals. Next game, we have the New Orleans Saints going on the road to take on the Atlanta Falcons. Now, the Falcons having a tough loss against the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday night, but they looked pretty good with only a few bad plays. And the New Orleans Saints losing a tough, tight one against the Philadelphia Eagles at home. Now the Saints looked really good against that Eagles offense up until that second half. If that offense can produce this week, then I do think the Saints will win. And that defense already did its job, because last week the Saints held the Eagles to 0 points up until the fourth quarter, which is just an amazing achievement because of how good that Eagles offense is. So with that being said, give me the New Orleans Saints. Next up, the Jacksonville Jaguars will be playing the Houston Texans, and I think this is another easy one. The Jaguars have looked awful these past weeks, because last week they played against the Bills. They lost by 37, and then the week before that, week 2, the Jags lost a close one against the Browns. And then week 1, they lost a close one once again to the Miami Dolphins, and they led that whole game basically. So with how things have gone for the Jaguars and Texans coming off a tough loss against the undefeated Minnesota Vikings, I do think the Texans will be way better than last week, going up against a mid team at best. So give me the Texans at home and beating their division rivals. Next up, probably one of the most interesting games is the Denver Broncos traveling to MetLife and playing the New York Jets, because the Jets have been on such a roll, and the Broncos getting a huge victory against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have looked really good this season. So this game will be a really tough game to call, but give me the Jets overall. Aaron Rodgers and that Jets offense has looked really good. Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson, and Allen Lazard, just an amazing trio. Give me the New York Jets. Next up, one of the best games I have to argue this week is the Minnesota Vikings are going to Lambeau Field to play the Green Bay Packers. And so with recent news, Love will be active, which basically means starting for the Green Bay Packers, which is huge, as this offense the past 2 weeks without Jordan Love has looked amazing. I mean, against the Colts and against the Titans. Now, obviously, these are two kind of easy teams. The Colts have a 1-2 record, but don't let them fool you with that record, because that's still a pretty good team, even though their record. And then the Minnesota Vikings have played tough teams, but their defense has pretty much carried the whole time. Their defense that they've faced these past few weeks have been mid. I mean, you can argue for the San Francisco defense and the Texans defense, but really just, I'd say, overall mid defenses. So this one will be a tough one. This Packers defense, though, let me get on that. That defense is amazing. 7 picks throughout the last 3 games, and then 12 sacks this whole entire season in just 3 weeks of playing. And this one's going to be really tough. This will be a really tight, close one. But give me the Green Bay Packers to take the division. Next up, the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Indianapolis Colts. Now, the Indianapolis Colts have looked amazing these past few weeks. The Steelers have also Justin Fields, man. This just really proves that Chicago was a problem because Fields has been amazing with this whole new offensive scheme, offensive line, and all new wide receivers. So I do think this one will sort of be in a blowout, but give me the Steelers. Overall, I do think the Steelers are a better team. Fields, Pickens, all around, overall, just a better offense, and their defense is most likely better because the Steelers have always had a pretty good defense. But give me the Pittsburgh Steelers. Next up, the Los Angeles Rams taking on the Chicago Bears. Now, this game is going to also be a tough one to call because the Rams have looked mid and good, bad and good. They lost in a blowout to the Cardinals a few weeks ago. And then they came back and they beat the 49ers, which is a pretty tough team currently right now to be in the NFC. And the Bears have just been awful. They're 1-2 and just tough loss against the Texans, and then just a horrible loss against the Colts. And so, with that being said, I do think the Rams will win this to advance to 2-2, and the Bears fall down to 1-3. Next, the Philadelphia Eagles will be traveling to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, the Eagles looked so mid in that game against New Orleans, but the Saints do have a really good defense. Currently, right now, the Buccaneers got absolutely battered by the Denver Broncos, and so with both of these teams having tough games, one winning their game, one losing their game, but just give me the Philadelphia Eagles. Last week, the Buccaneers had just a meltdown against the Denver Broncos, 26-7. I do think this Eagles offense overpowers this Buccaneers defense. And overall, the Eagles are just a better team, so give me the Philadelphia Eagles. Next up is the late slate of Sunday games. The first of that slate is the New England Patriots traveling to take on the San Francisco 49ers. Both of these teams have looked pretty decent. I mean, both of them, the 49ers have looked mid, the Patriots have looked mid, getting blown out by the New York Jets, making Aaron Rodgers look like he was in his prime. And so, just give me the 49ers because overall, they're the better team. They have the better offense. Brock Purdy, Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, George Kittle. That whole offense, just with those four players, I do think will overpower that New England Patriots defense. So give me the San Francisco 49ers. Next, the Washington Commanders versus the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals coming off a tough and tight loss against the Detroit Lions. And I do think in some way they should have won that game. Obviously, that pick six that they got was called back because the 2-minute warning supposedly ran down. But from what I saw, it didn't. So the Cardinals were really cheated out of the game. They should have won. And the Commanders winning in tight and close fashion against the Cincinnati Bengals. And don't get me wrong, the Cincinnati Bengals are a great football team. But the Commanders just literally beat and battered that Cincinnati defense. And they outplayed that offense too. So this will definitely be a close one. I do think the Cardinals, with home field advantage, will win this game. Like I said, in a close and tight one. Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr., that duo is just unbeatable. So give me the Cardinals. Next up, the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. In Los Angeles, this is going to be a close one. A division rivalry, might I say. And the Chargers went undefeated, going 2-0, but then dropping a game to the Pittsburgh Steelers, a really tough opponent. And the Kansas City Chiefs are currently 3-0, winning a tight one last week to the Atlanta Falcons. And most of the Chiefs games have been close, so as the Chargers. So it's really hard to say. I do think the Chargers and the Chiefs, this will be a pretty good game. They will fare up really good against each other, but you can't root against the Chiefs. Let me glaze it real quick. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce has not been too good, but you can name Travis Kelce. Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy. That offense is just so good. So give me the Chiefs in a close one this Sunday. Next up, the last game for the Sunday slate is the Cleveland Browns heading to Las Vegas to play the Las Vegas Raiders. The Browns coming off such a tough loss against the New York Giants, and the Raiders coming off a blowout loss against the Panthers. And the Giants, I do think, are overall better than the Raiders, because I do think the Browns would beat the Panthers. The Panthers wouldn't beat the Giants. And the Giants are pretty good. They fared up really good. It was a dogfight until the end this last Thursday night game against Dallas. And so give me the Browns. I do think overall they have a better offense and defense. I do think this will be a blowout too. Give me the Cleveland Browns. And now, our final game of Sunday on Sunday Night Football. The Buffalo Bills travel to M&T Bank Stadium to take on the Baltimore Ravens. Now the Bills coming off a huge win, a 37-point blowout win against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then the Baltimore Ravens going to Dallas and beating Dallas Cowboys in America's Game of the Week. This will be such a close one. The Bills are undefeated, and the Ravens should be undefeated. I do think they got cheated out of the win against the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's just say both of these teams are undefeated, and this will be a close one, a dogfight till the very end. Give me the Buffalo Bills. This is Josh Allen's season to shine, finally. So give me the Buffalo Bills in a dogfight, close one. I do think the Buffalo Bills will overall just out and overrun the Baltimore Ravens. Next up, we have a Monday night doubleheader. So the first game that starts in almost an hour early is the Tennessee Titans versus Miami Dolphins. Now last year we saw the same game on Monday night, and the Titans, they are awful. The Dolphins, they're awful without Tua. And so this one, I do think will be such a low-scoring game. It will be mostly a defensive game. But give me the Dolphins. Just overall, I do think a better team with amazing wide receivers and a pretty good defense. So give me the Dolphins. Next up, for the last game of Week 4 of the NFL season, the Seattle Seahawks traveling to Detroit to play the Detroit Lions. Now this one will be so good because the Seahawks are undefeated and the Lions are a good team offensively wise. And so this one will definitely be a close one. Not a dogfight, I'd say. Just a close game. But give me, hopefully, the Seattle Seahawks. I do think Geno Smith and that offense, DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, that'll be enough to take out the Detroit Lions and overpower that Detroit defense. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe. It sure does help. Give me your thoughts in the comments. Hope you guys enjoyed. And peace.